What's up everyone? You probably already know what this video is going to be about because of the title. If not though, you can check out the title down there right beside the subscribe button in case you want to hit that, you know. We're talking favorites today, and not just beauty favorites this month. I kind of wanted to cover some other things. Clothing, podcasts, a little bit of not a little bit of everything, but like mostly those other things. And as you can probably tell, different format this month than usually like me just face full of makeup telling you what I love. I figured I would do a getting ready with me style chatty favorites where I pepper a makeup tutorial in with all of the non-makeup items that I love. And that's really because I don't have a lot of new beauty favorites. So I'm going to be talking about the highlights of the beauty favorites that I have, but for the most part, I think a lot of you will have seen these and have heard me talk about these before. So rather than bore you with that, or at least bore you with going more in depth to them again, I would change it up and share some other things that I have been absolutely loving this month. So let's go ahead and get started. The foundation that I'm going to be starting off with today is my Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear. I have two shades because I'm currently kind of in between my summer and winter shade. I do a pump of each. That's one pump. And that is two. It ends up being a little bit too much. A little bit of this goes a long way, even if you want pretty full coverage. I also have really liked, I kind of rediscovered the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation in a Shop My Stash video I did earlier this month if you want to go check it out. But today, and for most days recently, I've been wanting a little bit more coverage because I have been breaking out like crazy along my jaw, temples. I don't know. But when your hormones and skincare are failing you, just reach for the makeup. So to apply that, I'm using this Real Techniques brush. It is the Custom Complexion brush. Did a review of all three of the brushes that they came out with in this collection, and this is probably the one that I use the most because it is so easy to change between the brush sizes. The premise, in case you missed, is that this little thingy right here kind of changes the size and density of the bristles of your brush so that like when it's at its what they call its max point, you get a pretty dense brush that I find is great for stippling, either layering up your foundation in certain points or going in with your concealer and layering it up there. It's just a really versatile brush that I have found myself using pretty much every time I do my foundation. That's one of the things that I really love about this foundation is it's pretty buildable. This is now officially all of it used on my face. Gave great coverage, almost full, doesn't totally cancel out redness, but my concealer coming up after that will definitely do that. Has a slightly satin finish, so I think it looks like, you know, natural skin texture, but still keeps me matte throughout the day. And then like the name suggests, it is very long wearing. Haven't tried the whole 24-hour thing because my life is not that exciting, but it lasts as long as I need it to throughout the day. Moving on to concealer, I'm using my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. Mine is in the shade Custard or Medium 1. And by the way, the shades that I'm in between in the Lancome are 260 and 330. But I'm taking that concealer, once again, I've taken my foundation brush all the way to the most dense point, and I just put the brush straight into that pot and kind of start stamping it in my under eye area before I will go and blend it out. I will just crank the brush up to that midpoint, and that's when I will get a little bit farther away from the eye area just to make sure it's seamless, the blend between my foundation and where this concealer is, because concealer is pretty thick, not in a bad way, in a way that gives appropriate coverage, I think, and it's a little bit more dry than my foundation. So I just find to make sure that's totally seamless, I will puff that brush up and just use it, dab it in that area. While I'm doing this other eye though, it's time to talk about a non-makeup favorite. I have a shower mist favorite. So quick little story time. A couple months back, right before my sister's wedding, my mom, my sister, and I went to go get massages at a spa. And when we were there, you know when you do like a scrub, they have you go rinse off afterwards to get all the granules off? Well, in the shower, they had a eucalyptus shower mist that was so intense and so aromatic and so relaxing. It was freaking fabulous. And so I knew the minute that I came back home, I wanted some for my shower. However, I went on Amazon. I didn't, like I should have, take a picture of the brand that they had or the bottle that they had to be able to find it online. So I went on Amazon and I picked up this one. This is called Aromatherapy. Oh, it's from Bath & Body Works. So I thought it was, you know, pretty, big name, reputable, eucalyptus essential oil aromatherapy. 5-in-1, okay, it doesn't matter what it does, I don't like it. It didn't do anything for my shower experience. It's like the scent is virtually non-existent. Like I haven't used hardly any of it because it stinks. But a couple weeks back, my mom surprised me with this guy. This is from Eurospa. It says 100% pure eucalyptus oil shower mist, and this is the real deal. Couple of spritzes of this in the floor of your shower, and it is like you're transported. It's so amazing. And especially I had the cold that like wouldn't go away. I feel like a lot of people got that early fall cold, just hit everyone. And I got that. And so it really helped with that congestion because I can't be alone in this. The shower is like the best place to get all the gunk out of your lungs, to be delicate about it. You know what I mean? You hack it up. The shower is where you hack it all up. And so I feel like that oil not only really helped with that, but even as I am not sick now, it's just such a nice, like, it just creates such a nice and relaxing atmosphere in the shower. By the way, I'm also taking this concealer again on the densest part of this brush, and I am tapping that around where I have breakouts elsewhere on my face, which is kind of everywhere. Now for some extra glow and to help set everything, I'm gonna go in with my Laura Mercier Loose Translucent Setting Powder Glow version. Recently included this in a video all about my favorite things to keep your skin glowy and dewy that aren't skincare. They're specifically makeup items, but they're not highlighters. They're just various makeup items that you can use to keep your summer glow going strong throughout the year. So I'm taking that. I did take a fluffier brush than my complexion brush that I was using before because this has some serious pigmentation when it comes to that glow element. And so I find that I really like something intensely fluffy like this. Another Real Techniques, the Rebel Edge Broad Brush. Just really great for getting a broad, loose application of that. You can totally build it, but you can also tap it off and get something a little bit lighter. And it's of a decent size to where when you do this, if I were to pull my hair back like that, you can actually get this edge part in that area between your brows and your hair without getting makeup either in your brows or your hair. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate that about the shape of these brushes. Next up, bronzer, my Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Light, and this is so not new, aka a longtime favorite for me, that I've actually hit pan in this baby, and that's always like such a satisfying feeling. I'm gonna go in with another one of those Real Techniques automatic brushes, the Custom Contour brush. I like to start with it at about the midpoint before I go full on fluffy with this. I just dip it right in there, and then I go to town in the hollows of my cheeks, temples, wherever you want to apply your bronzer. And after I get a good like a solid application like that, I'll pop that brush up and just go in and blend it out. Okay, for my next non-beauty favorite has been these leopard slide-ons from Treasure and Bond. I got them, I think, in the Nordstrom anniversary sale, way premature for fall, but I just knew I wanted to have a leopard shoe staple in my collection for fall this year, and they've really proven to be like the perfect transition shoe, especially down here in Texas where fall really just means going back and forth between 80 degrees and 60 degrees on any given day, sometimes in the same day. And so these shoes are really nice because they're obviously not a boot or a bootie. They're not a full shoe because some days you just don't need them, but they still have that fall feel to them. So they go with your jeans or your longer skirts, like the rest of your fall, your sweaters, the rest of your fall wardrobe. You know what I mean? Speaking of fall wardrobe, it has finally gotten cool enough to whip out the sweaters. So I have been wearing a couple that I've really loved. The first one is one I actually wore a couple videos, maybe just one video back, I forget. It's the pink one. A lot of you guys asked where it was from. I'll put the info down below, but I bought it from Nordstrom when they were having their 10 times points deal. It's actually when I got all of these items. And I was kind of on the fence about it because I think the brand is J. Crew. They had a ton of different colors in it. And for some reason, the pink spoke to me. And I wasn't sure if it's what I wanted to go with because pink is so not a fall color for me. I love the rich gem tones, but that is just a color I don't have a ton of in my closet, and I ended up really, really liking it. I think it's flattering, just for me personally, and it's just something different to have on hand. Nice long sleeves, I love a good v-neck, and it's short enough in the front to where you can tuck it into high-waisted jeans without there being so much fabric that it looks like really bulky. Moving on to my brows real quick, I'm using my CoverGirl Ultra Fine and Defined Brow Pencil in the shade Soft Brown. Just gonna fill and define my brows with that. The other sweater that I've really been loving is more of like a shrug, I guess you would say. I used this, or I talked about it in my transitioning fall clothing video. I forget what it was called, but I'll link to it if you want to go watch it. Basically ways that you can update your summer wardrobe and make it more transition friendly when seasons are acting or the weather is acting so crazy. And especially now that it has cooled down, I have found that I've worn it so much. It goes with jeans, like you can wear it out of the house if you want. It looks super cute belted, but it's also super cozy to where if you just need something to throw on because you keep the house at a ridiculously cold temperature, it's a really nice thing to throw on and just feel like you are comfy and cozy. And then the other sweater that I've really been loving, actually I also wore this one in, I think this was my Sephora VIB videos. It's like a softer pink shade, more of a blush shade, and it's a thick knit, but it has these big bubble sleeves with little, I don't even know what the right word for them is, but just like a cute little rib design on the sleeve with these big bubble bell sleeve kind of things. Super cute, again, kind of cropped in the front so you can tuck it into your high-waisted jeans, which I absolutely love. I didn't buy any new jeans this year, which is kind of unheard of for me, but I really stocked up last year after I discovered Good American and how their high-waisted jeans just really fit both my waist and hips the way I need jeans to fit. They are all I have been loving. So I've really enjoyed pulling those back out. Although I will say my favorite pair, which is now no longer available, is getting that wear pattern in between, like in the thigh area. And so I kind of want to cry because like I said, they no longer make that style, but I remind myself that I have other jeans that I can also wear and love, so that maybe I will wear those out slower by pulling them out of rotation, you know? So now that the brows are filled and defined, I'm gonna set them with my Anastasia Dip Brow Gel. Mine is in the shade medium brown. I just run that through super duper quick. Now on to blush. So in the same Shop My Stash video that I rediscovered that Wet n Wild foundation I mentioned earlier, I also started using this palette that I've had for probably a year, 2 years at this point. The Dulce Candy and Pixie Blush Bronzer Highlight collaboration. Finally used it for the first time ever in that video and was blown away because it has shimmery blushes. I mean, it has shimmery everything in it, but within the past few months, I've become like particularly in love with illuminating blushes. So what I do, highly precise, is that I like to take a blush brush and just right in there. And then I go to town. I go to town on my cheek area, and even though I have breakouts happening, even one right here on my cheek, the shimmer is so fine in here, or the pearlescence, I suppose, that it really, I don't find that it emphasizes the texture. It just does a good job at giving me blinding highlight, a little bit of soft blushy pigment without looking totally unflattering on my skin texture. Okay, I might have gone overboard over here. I don't normally apply this much. It went a little crazy, but some days that's just how it goes. Then I've also been into really quick and easy eyes. So I will actually just go in and use the bronzers and highlighters from this on my eyes, which is what I'm gonna do today, just for the sake of mentioning what I've tried and liked this month. Urban Decay sent me their new On the Run palettes. I have a review of these. There is Highway Queen, which is like warm bronzy copper shades. And then the G Train, which is my favorite of the two, has greens, red tone browns, shimmery golds. I like this because of the color variety and contrast and textures in there. But if you are a coppery bronze person, Highway Queen might be for you, especially these are super great like travel size palettes. The other palette that I've tried, have not reviewed yet, but will be coming up soon, is something new from Bare Minerals. They sent me this Mesa Gen Nude eyeshadow palette. And this I wore a couple videos back that you guys were asking what was on my face. This was on my eyes, and then they have a blush bronzer highlight trio and a set of 5 lips that I've been wearing, liquid lips, glossy lips a lot lately, kind of this overall blush tone palette. And although I like it, it's not something that I've been like reaching for every day and haven't really, I think I've had it for only a week. So to call it a favorite might be a bit much, which is why today we're just gonna go in with this guy. So for starters on the eyes, I'm taking this light bronzy shade up there on kind of like a fluffy crease brush. This is actually from Smashbox. It's their shadow blending brush. And I'm just sweeping that all over my lid. Ooh, and while we're doing this, let's talk podcasts. So first up is the podcast Radio Rental. It's actually pretty new, like launched in October. Payne Lindsay is behind it, and he sticks to the true crime category and more of a, I don't even know what the right word for it is, but straightforward interviews, investigative, true crime format kind of thing. This one, which I love, but this one's totally different. This is people telling their stories, and the topics range anywhere from supernatural, paranormal, true crime, terrorism, like crazy, crazy stories. And in between them all, there is a host. Like the premise is that you're walking into this video store and this host is playing these interviews for you. And the host is Rainn Wilson. Like it's so fun to hear him act as the host. It's just a really interesting format that I think really works. The stories are super interesting. It's a nice change of pace from true crime, although I do have true crime in my favorites, just in case you're worried. And so I really recommend it if it sounds like something that will, kind of speak to your love of those topics, but just give it to you in a slightly different format. Now I'm just taking a smaller brush and applying that same shade to my lower lash line. The next podcast I want to recommend is Bad Batch. I think it's the same people who did Dr. Death, in case you haven't listened to that either. That's an incredible investigative podcast, but Bad Batch is about a botched batch of stem cells, and it goes into the company that distributed them and how could they have gotten to a place where these botched stem cells ended up in doctors' offices and the repercussions of the patients who received them. And so fascinating. That one's actually ongoing. It started either at the beginning of October or maybe before that. So it is still in progress as well. It's super interesting. And I just love the narrator's voice. How many of you listen to podcasts, half because you're interested in it, but also just because you love the sound of someone's voice? Am I weird in that? Next, I'm going in with that same small brush I used on my lower lash line and that deepest bronzy shade. And I'm going to start patting that in my outer corner. And after I pat that out, I also just took that same brush that I used to apply the first shadow all over my lid, and I'm using that to blend it up. I mean, it's a full-on shimmery look. Next podcast. I work from home, by the way, so I feel like I just burn through podcasts like crazy. But The Mysterious Mr. Epstein is fascinating and disturbing and disgusting, and I highly recommend it if you were intrigued by the headlines when all of it kind of exploded in the media, and maybe like me, you had kind of a superficial knowledge of like who this guy was, what he was being accused of, that he had already been convicted of a crime. This deep dives into all of that, current allegations, evidence from previous convictions, and how he skirted around the sentencing. Like it's a lot. It's kind of heavy at times, just given the nature of his crime. So definitely be forewarned of that. But I think it's really important to have something that provides so much more information, because I feel like it really came out of the media, and all I and maybe others had was this high-level understanding of what happened without any resolution, especially for the victims. So not that this podcast gives them resolution, but hopefully just continues to shed more light and awareness around his crimes. Okay, that's gotta be it for true crime. I mean, who do I think I am? Bailey Sarian? I wish. Let's move on to mascara. As usual, gonna use my L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Paradise, and while I do that, the last podcast I wanna recommend, not true crime related, is actually about voice acting. And I've mentioned this in a couple videos, but I also am a voice actor in addition to making these YouTube videos. And one of the websites that I do a lot of my work through is called voices.com. And they have a couple of different podcasts, but the one that I have been loving so much recently is called Mission Audition. And the premise is that every episode they will have a script for a given category. Like maybe it's a conversational commercial or an audiobook or a gaming/cartoon kind of thing. Every episode has a theme and a script, and the host and a voice acting expert, like a voice actor coach, will sit down with that person and they will go through like 5 to 7, like a handful of auditions that have been submitted through the site. And I love it because you get to hear other auditions. You don't get that a whole lot when it comes to voice acting. And I just think it is so cool to get to hear other people's styles, their deliveries, just the texture of their voice. I love hearing that in other people, and then also getting to hear them critique them and give them feedback, and it just helps me learn and improve myself, I think, as well. So that's just kind of a fun, maybe more uplifting podcast, even if you're not, into voice acting. I just always think it is so cool to hear more information from behind the mic, in the industry, and just kind of see how the magic all happens. Because especially since voice acting can be and is for a lot of people such a remote profession. It can be hard to know what goes on behind the scenes, you know? So I just really like that podcast. Okay, so those are the lashes done. I am gonna let my mascara dry before I go in with my magnetic accent lashes, which I always love. So while that happens, I'm gonna do my lips, and I've really been loving the House Laboratories lip glosses. This is the shade Le Riot. I also have another one. Is it Corset, or I forget what the name of it is. I'll list it in the description box below, or you can go check out the video where I reviewed these things. But it's such a like high shine, high pigment. I mean, this one is meant to be a light nude, so it doesn't really pop against my skin, but ultra high shine, non-sticky gloss. Like, it's pretty long wearing as far as a gloss goes because it doesn't stick. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it doesn't stick. Like, it does come off when you're drinking things and you're eating things, but I think there's something about the texture, the thickness, the something that just makes it not come off as much, and certainly doesn't stick to itself. That just makes it a little bit more long lasting. I also, what I probably should have done, because I've also been enjoying it, is slightly overdrawing my lips with, I have a couple nude liners that I rotate in between, but mixed with a nude liner, overdrawn, and this gloss, it is like full lip central. Yeah, my lips are kind of disappearing into this look, but the lashes will really take it up a notch. Okay, now it's time for the lashes. These are my Ardell magnetic accents. Love, love, love these. I have been trying some of the new magnetic liners that are kind of out en masse now by Ardell and Allure, I think, as the liquid one. And, you know, I have a video coming out on them. They're good. They're okay. Nothing is as easy as this, and nothing gives you like a virtually invisible lash line quite like these. That's the one thing that I realized as I was trying those liners out, is part of what makes me use these so much over the magnetic liners that I already had is not only how fast they are to apply, because you skip the liner step entirely, but it doesn't require you to have a thicker line on your upper lash line if it's not something you think will go with your look, you know? Because some days I don't want a thick line on my upper lash line, and when you use those magnetic eyeliners, they often take not only thick lines but multiple layers, so it's not a smoky, it's not like a, you know, a suggestion of an eyeline. It is like boom, a thick line. Whereas with these, it's like virtually indistinguishable from your lashes, and you just get that nice cat eye flick that makes your eyes, or makes my eyes anyway, my particular eye shape, look a little bit more cat/almond-like. You know what I mean? Okay, so this is the final look. Those are all of my beauty favorites, and I think the only two things I did not have time to go into detail about in this tutorial was TV. Recently started Castle Rock. I mean, Castle Rock recently started, so I also recently started it, season 2. At first I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a continuation of the first season, but the more I've gotten into it, the more I'm really digging it, and Janice from Mean Girls is in it, so you gotta love that. Next up, American Horror Story. I watch the show faithfully every year. I don't love it every year. Like, I definitely have a hierarchy of seasons in my mind, and I wasn't crazy about this one when it started. It's called 1984 or Summer Camp. It's about a summer camp, but I think it's called 1984. And yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to think of it. Like, I had lots of emotional swings throughout the first few episodes, but now I feel like it's really caught its stride. And they've also brought back some of the actors that I've loved from previous seasons, which always, like, I appreciate because it's a little bit nostalgic. So I feel like I'm there, I'm with it, I'm on the same page. If you watch any of those shows, if you listen to any of these podcasts, I would love to hear your thoughts about them in the comment section below. And overall, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this style of favorites videos. Let me know what you think. If you want to see this kind going forward, or if it was too random, let me know that too. Thank you guys so much for watching either way. I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.